Aloha, and thank you all for joining us in this Sunday morning's Hawaii Betsuin online service. Despite the limitations of not being able to meet in person at the temple, technology has provided us the means to transmit the Dharma for all to reflect upon and, more important, to apply in our daily lives. Not being able to physically come to the temple is no hindrance to the Buddha's teachings reaching us and transforming our lives for the better. Let's put our hands together in Gassho. Those who in youth have not led the holy life, who have failed to acquire the wealth of the Dharma, languish like old cranes in a pond without fish. Those who in youth have not led the holy life, who have failed to acquire the wealth of the Dharma, lie sighing over the past like worn-out arrows shot from a bow. From the Dhammapada, the words of Shakyamuni Buddha, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu. Good morning. Aloha kakahiyaka. Welcome to this morning Sunday online service of the Honpa Hongwanji Hawaii Betsuin. It is my sincerest hope that all of our members and non-members alike are keeping healthy and safe as this COVID-19 pandemic lingers on for over 6 months now. Of particular concern are those of us who are not so young anymore, and those with underlying medical conditions are especially vulnerable to becoming infected with the disease. The virus does not discriminate. Even the President of the United States, with all resources at his disposal, has now contracted COVID-19. But he is also not a young person anymore. Being young indeed has its advantages. The body is more resistant to disease and breakdown. Maybe for some, growing old is humbug, disliked, to be avoided if at all possible. However, it is said that with aging comes wisdom. I think that is generally true. As a person grows older in age, he or she acquires the experience of living life together with the knowledge necessary to live life wisely and productively, based on the experience gained. There are exceptions, of course. Some people grow only in physical and chronological age, but their mentalities remain fixated in their much younger years. In other words, they never really grew up and matured. Well, it's good to have a young mind that's still very much involved with living and enjoying a full life, but that mind has to be mature and responsible. To still act childish and silly at a much advanced age is, of course, not healthy. How many of us know a person like that? How many of us are like that? I know some elder people who still behave immaturely at times, not here in Hawaii, but in the mainland. Yes, it's true. It takes one to know one. I officially became a senior citizen some years ago. It is not exactly something I eagerly welcomed, but really, I have joined the ranks of millions of human beings in this planet who are considered living in the afternoon part of life. But even before I hit official senior citizen age, I've already been receiving membership applications for the AARP, the American Association of Retired Persons, through the mail. First time I started receiving these unsolicited applications, I felt insulted and irritated. How dare they send me applications to the AARP when I'm not senior citizen yet? I'm not that old. I'm still middle-aged, I said to myself. That was just not too long ago. But now that I have reached the age that society has set as the official age of what is defined as a senior citizen, I have come to accept it. There is no more escape, no more excuse for getting upset over receiving AARP membership application. What all that feeling of insult and irritation that I felt a few years ago when the AARP contacted me was a form of denial. I just couldn't accept the fact that I am no longer a young person. I used to say often to myself, I wish I were young again, but I don't say it anymore. There may be others around me who are much younger, and I might envy them for their younger years or their youth. But there is only one direction in the journey of life. They too will grow old someday, without exception, and natural aging is not reversible. Youth is something we cannot possess forever. It is hard to notice how much we have changed over the years just by looking at the mirror alone. Like true self-centered, unenlightened beings, we always see our own image in front of the mirror as mostly with very little flaws and imperfections. We do not notice or conveniently ignore or mask the smallest signs of lines and wrinkles that are slowly but imperceptibly forming in our faces. It only becomes obvious when we see pictures of our past and present appearances. And usually, the noticeable change evokes smiles, if not laughter, in us or other people seeing our younger and older pictures side by side. In comparison, I still have my old New Jersey driver's license in 1983. And if anyone can see my photo in that license, they will surely say, "That's not you, Sensei. You look different." That is a picture of a long-haired, unkempt young man with a mustache and goatee-type beard. I could be mistaken for a homeless and drug-addicted man by my appearance. Compared to how I look now, I think I like it better back then. I was not fat, that's why. Change is inevitable in all of us because, as compounded beings, meaning one made up of various aggregates and matter, we are subject to the laws of impermanence, just like any other compounded matter in the universe. We are born, we grow old, get sick, and eventually die. That is the cycle of life that is true for all of us. The Buddha identified birth, aging, sickness, and death as the four initial forms of dukkha, or suffering. Why is birth suffering? We come to this world from our mother's womb, crying as if in protest of being removed from the comfort and safety of our mother's body that held us for 9 months. Aging is suffering. We grow old with age, and with age comes myriad forms of suffering, not only physical, like diminishing faculties of sight and hearing, but also the emotional suffering of losing independence, being separated from children or spouse through deaths, loneliness, and despair. With aging also comes a weakening body, which makes us prone to disease or disability. Bodily pains. This is the third form of suffering, illness. And ultimately, the body just totally wears out, leading to the most universally disliked suffering of all, and that is the suffering of death. Death is the most fearsome of all, because it is the exact opposite of our present condition, which is being alive. As yet unenlightened beings, we do not know what really lies beyond this realm that we have known since we were born. Buddhism speaks of the endless cycle of birth and death as samsaric existence, where we are born, We die, born again and die again, and goes on and on until enlightenment or nirvana is achieved. And in our Pure Land Buddhist tradition, birth in the Pure Land of Amida Buddha is what breaks that cycle of birth and death. We have heard of the Pure Land countless of times from many different ministers and religious figures. Through the years, we have been listening to the Buddha's teachings. And yet, I wonder, how many of us have completely accepted the reality of the Pure Land and entrusted ourselves to the workings of the Buddha's vow to liberate us from the endless rounds of birth and death that the unenlightened person is trapped in? This complete and total entrusting is crucial in eliminating the doubts and fears of death and the afterlife. But because our blind passions, or bonno, have such a strong hold on us, it is not easy. We can't let go of our attachment to things so easily. Before I became a minister, I attended many Dharma classes just to further my knowledge in Buddhism and Jodo Shinshu. And during one of these classes, I posed this question for everybody in the classroom. Suppose, just suppose, that Amida Buddha appeared before you, not in a dream, but in real time, and asked you to drop everything you are doing right now and give away all your possessions until you have nothing left, with a guarantee that in doing so, you can follow the Buddha right away to the Pure Land, that very moment. How would you respond to that? Not one said with absolute certainty that he will do what the Buddha just said. Many said they would be willing, but somehow there were always doubts. Even skepticism as to whether Amida Buddha can really appear before a person and talk directly to them. It is the inability to let go of attachment that creates this doubt. And the person who has received Shinjin, or the true mind of the Buddha, is the person who does not have the slightest doubt in the primal vow of Amida and the existence of the Pure Land. People of Shinjin are really exceptional people. So, does that mean we who cannot let go of our attachments and entrust ourselves completely are hopeless and beyond salvation? No. On the contrary, all the more reason that the Buddha will not abandon us, for that is the meaning of boundless compassion, a compassion that is unconditional without any strings attached. The primal vow is not for those who are really good. The genuinely good person does not need the Buddha's help, but for those who are incapable of doing any good and who sincerely desire for salvation, the power of the vow works even stronger. The question is, are there really genuinely good people? The answer is none. Amida Buddha's vow is for all sentient beings without exceptions. Going back to the subject of aging, it is unfortunate that it only goes one way, towards the final dissolution of the physical body, and it is the one inescapable reality of life. We never grow young. We only get old. The reverse is not possible, although mentally or physically, an older person can revert to a state of helplessness, like that of a child, due to deterioration of his physical and mental faculties. Have you ever pondered the question of how long would you want to live? Would you like to live past 100 years? Even beyond 110 years, perhaps? I guess the answer would be yes, as long as the body is healthy and not suffering from body and mind-related afflictions. But that is not realistic for most people. Usually, as one grows older, the body degenerates with time and suffering comes. Therefore, it is not so much the length, but the quality of life that matters. A person may live up to past 100 years, but if he has been suffering from chronic pain, discomfort, and disability for the most part of his life, his living experience is of much inferior quality to a person who has managed to live maybe only up to 70 or 80 years, but has had a rich, fulfilling, and satisfying life in relatively good health. The key to managing aging is to be happy and enjoy life to the fullest. But that happiness has to be the kind of happiness that springs not from having too much material possessions, but rather one that arises from living in peace and goodwill with one's fellow human beings. Giving generously to others without any expectations of any kind of reward or favor returned. That is the Bodhisattva way of life. The key to finding joy is to create serenity in our lives. Serenity comes with letting go of our attachment to things and the freeing of ourselves from the anxieties and worries about death and the afterlife through the attainment of the entrusting mind, or Shinjin. With Shinjin, salvation is assured. The receiving of Shinjin from Amida Buddha occupies such a central importance in traditional Jodo Shinshu teaching that the second founder of Jodo Shinshu Buddhism tradition, Ren Shonin, called it Gassho no Ichidaiji, meaning the important matter of the afterlife. The purpose of our religious life in Jodo Shinshu Buddhism is to receive that entrusting mind, or Shinjin. Well, as a new member of the Senior Citizens Club, how do I feel about it? I actually welcome it now. There is really no choice. I have no desire to live a life trying to lie about my age every time. Although I still have a few more years to go before retirement, that is something that I think is one positive thing about getting older, getting closer to actually retiring from active work. Then, I'm also now qualified or eligible for senior discount at Foodland, Don Quixote, and some other stores and restaurants. It is not bad to grow old at all, to grow older. We just hope physically that we will be able to remain active and health issues such as, for example, high blood pressure and others, be kept in check for as long as possible. Some of our members at the many temples all over the state of Hawaii are already in their late 80s and 90s. And I say congratulations to all of them. Diet, activity, and genetics all contributed to their longevity. And I wish them many, many more years of good, healthy, and happy life. With the Buddha's teaching as our guide, may we all experience the joy of living the Nembutsu way and be always mindful of the ever-present wisdom and compassion of the Buddha, and most important of all, always expressing our gratitude by the recitation of the Buddha's name. Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo 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 Namo. Thank you once again for joining us in the Sunday morning's online service of the Honpa Hongwanji Hawaii Betsuin. We hope to see you again next week and continue to seek the Buddha's teachings and apply it in your daily lives. May the boundless and supreme light of wisdom of Amida Buddha's wisdom and compassion be our guide towards living the Buddhist way of life. Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu.
Hi, I'm Jovi.
Hi, I'm Wayne. Hope everybody's doing well during these pandemic times.
I'm the supervisor for the Betsuin Dharma School.
And I teach 4th and 5th grade at Dharma School. I'm also on the Betsuin board. So hope everybody's been doing well during the pandemic times. We've been, actually Jovi's been trying a lot of different recipes now. So I've been eating a lot of different type of new things, which is good. I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, no more pork and beans and hot dogs.
So we like going out to eat a lot, but of course that's not possible right now as much. So, but we've been trying to patronize our restaurants. We do a lot of takeout, so we keep trying to keep them alive. Our favorite restaurants.
Yeah, one of our favorite that we had night before last night, Sakura Terrace is the best.
She always gets the nori bento and I always get the sakura chirashi.
But I don't know what else to say.
No, I hope everybody's there. By the way, if Fujiko is watching this one, Fujiko, I miss your jokes. Bye, everybody. Take care. Hope we see everyone soon.
But you could also join our Dharma School virtual services at 9 o'clock on Sundays. See you all there. Bye.
Bye. See ya.